Many decades ago, a diary was written in a secret building called the Secret Annex. Actually, at that time, 8 Jews were hiding in that building, hoping not to be found. That young girl at the mere age of 14 years wrote one of the most sensational work that is known to us in this world. Yes, I am talking about none other than Anne Frank. Anne Frank's work has inspired millions in our country. Good morning, I'm Dr. Sumedha Dhasmana, and the topic of my today's presentation is the power of writing, the art of writing for newsletter. Writing is a basic skill, but nobody will tell you that why it is important to write. I must share with you this, that writing develops your critical thinking. And eventually, when you're able to think better, it is obvious that you're living a better life. That is why writing is crucial for all. The purpose of my today's presentation is to share with you about the basics of our newsletter, which is journalism@DME. I also want to inform you how this newsletter has benefited our students, how this newsletter is benefiting faculty members, and I also want to achieve uniformity and achieve quality in writing. That is why I would also be discussing certain points that we keep in mind while we are writing for a newsletter. I also want to add on few points which can, improve our newsletter in the near future. This is our newsletter, journalism@DME, and this introduction is specially dedicated to new faculty members and also to our students. Our newsletter is a fortnightly publication, and it is India's only interactive newsletter. And our newsletter started in year 2016 with just 4 publications, but now in 2023, we have already published 7 successful volumes, and today we are running, at this point of time, we are running the 8th volume and 4th issue of this newsletter. Our newsletter carries all the major events of our college and all the events of DME Media School. But apart from that, we have dedicated sections like the cartoon space, in conversation section. Then we have our book and movie review corner. And there is a newly introduced column, which is the My Idea of India, in which our students of first year have already submitted their ideas in this. Our newsletter is both in a print ready version as well as it is appropriate for the e-version. Our newsletter is always runs in the multiple of 4, so that whenever we want to take a print of the newsletter, we are always ready with it. Next slide. This is our team. Mr. Vipin Sahani is patron-in-chief. Mr. Raman Sahani, Justice Bhavar Singh, and Dr. Ravikant Swamy is patron. Consulting editor, we all know, is Dr. Amrish Saxena. Chief editor is Dr. Sushmita Bala, editor Dr. Manasvi Maheshwari. Associate editors, me and Ms. Saima Parvez. Assistant professors, assistant editors for content, we have, in this designation, we have provided this designation to our students this time, and this is Kirti Mathur and Anisha Saran. They have been editing stories from some time now. Now, associate editors in creative team, we have Mr. Anmol Mehta and Mr. Ashish Chatterjee. We also have Ms. Priya Yadav, who is always coordinating with us for all various purposes of newsletter. She is assistant editor coordination. We have Mr. Madhav Sharma with us. We have, in fact, the DME Frames team, which includes Mayank. They always keep on coordinating for, providing us pictures for the newsletter. I want to really, talk about the entire process of newsletter publication, because this newsletter that may appear so simple to you when you receive it in your emails or when you receive it in your WhatsApp group, it actually takes a lot of time, a lot of energy for publication. And we are doing this twice in a month. So it is really important for all of you to understand that how much of hard work is going on in this publication. So we have our students who are basically writing new stories for us. Those stories are then submitted to us. We edit those stories, and editing stories is a big challenge because we get all kinds of stories. Some copies are really nice, but some are difficult to check. We have to check for the spelling mistakes. We have to check for the facts and figures and everything. That is how, once we edit those stories, we send it to Amrish sir. He again reads the entire story. In fact, he proofreads it. He gives it a new headline, and and then finally approves that story. That story is then sent back to us, me or Saima ma'am, and we add pictures in that story and send it to Ashish Chatterjee sir or Anmol sir, and sometimes even students have already designed newsletters, so sometimes we send it to students also. So after this, once uh, we start feeling little light at this point of time, because our written part is done, but now the real task is shifted towards the designing team. And at this point of time, Ashish sir has been coordinating with us for the designing. He spends equal amount of time and energy on this, and he designs the newsletter, thinks on it. We often have to sit with him to rectify errors which might go unnoticed in the first stages. Then once we decide on the pagination, we decide the number of pages that should go in the upcoming issue of the newsletter. We also decide that on which page which story has to go. So there is a lot of constant coordination which goes on, and this same is also being taught to our students. Why? Because all the time they are providing their stories to us. We also giving them a feedback on what they have written and how the final story is going. Sir takes a lot of effort and time to come out with that PDF copy, and then he sends it back to us. We go through that PDF copy once more. We check for the name of the newsletter has been written properly, the number of pages has been mentioned correctly, and a lot of other things. But this is not the after this we send it to Amrish sir. He again checks the same edition, and he goes through each and every story again once more. I have done this many a times with sitting right in front of sir only. And then he finally approves the newsletter. Still, this is not the end of the newsletter's publication. Once he approves, then this entire burden is actually shifted to Mr. Madhav Sharma, who is mainly responsible for the hyperlinking of this newsletter. And in the hyperlinking process, Mr. Madhav Sharma, he provides a hyperlink to each and every headline, to each and every byline, and sometimes even to the photographs which are attached to the related pages. So hyperlinking takes one full day, and this is in fact done along with the other college going activities, everyday activities of teaching and other assignments. So this requires a lot of patience, but also a lot of time and energy. So after the hyperlinking of the newsletter is done, he sends it to Amrish sir for final approval, and then again Amrish sir checks each and every link and makes sure that everything is correct. At the hyperlinking stage, if an error is detected, then at that point it becomes really difficult. It becomes again a big task to correct it, but we always ensure that once an error is identified, that it has to be corrected, no matter how much energy is required to rectify. So after hyperlinking is done, then Amrish sir finally approves it for uploading. Madhav sir sends it to our web team, who uploads it on the net on our DME website. But still, there is a lot more to be done here after this stage. Madhav Sharma sir, he again drafts the newsletter through MailChimp. In MailChimp, he again designs the first 2-3 pages. He sits with Amrish sir, decides on the stories that has to be included. He again designed it, and he again hyperlinks all the stories. And after hyperlinking, he sends this newsletter. At this point of time, we are sending this newsletter to 2,000 subscribers. And our future plans are that we are going to send it to 5,000 subscribers in the near future. So this is the entire process of our newsletter publication, and this is just a 15 days task. We do it, for 2 editions every month. So it is like this. These are certain points that we should always keep in mind while we are writing stories, and even while we are editing. We have been repeating these points. Teachers must be teaching you in your classes, but these points have to be always to be kept in mind. First thing is, paragraphs should not be confusing. They should not be too long. They should be very easy, and they should be simple. It should not consume readers a lot of time and effort. We should not use adjectives in our headlines. We should never mention the year in which the story is being published, because that is already mentioned in the newsletter. All right, so you will not write the year while you're reporting your event. So we should also not use words like also. Why? Because this shows that you're taking some support. This shows the weakness of a writer. We should never ever forget the 5 W's and 1 H rule in our writing, which is very crucial. We all have been studying about this, but all of us do this mistake. It is very important for all of us to to listen to the speaker very carefully, to jot down points, and so that we can come out with a wonderful story with a outstanding headline. Our headlines should always be in present tense only, and then we can in the beginning of sentence, according to the report, we can use the past tense. Well, welcome note is actually not required, but if at all it is required, then you can use it in the end. So one paragraph should have just one idea, so that the confusion is eliminated. It should just have one idea. And we should always remember that the report has nothing to do with minute to minute chronology of the event. You have to write your report according to the prominence of what is being written about. Yeah, this is the style sheet of our newsletter. See, the style sheet is longer, but I am just sharing few points of it. First is the word limit is 300 words are more than enough for our newsletter. We use UK English, so that's why the spelling of our program would always be PROGRAMME. We will not write sir at the end of the name. We use words like don't use words like faculties, and rather use faculty members. And this is the date format. If you look at it, I have given the month first, and then the day, and then the year. This is how all newspapers use this date format. We should avoid articles, and we should always make our text easy to read. So that's how we have decided that our font size should be always in 12 times New Roman, and headline can go for 14 font size. So one paragraph, one idea rule I have already shared, and this is how we write the designations for our reports. So we'll write the name, and then we'll write professor, dean or HOD, and then the media, the school, the name of the school. So I want teachers, they enhance students' life. And we all know that teaching today is not limited to classroom teaching, and it is very important that our students should learn all kind of skills which are required in the industry. So before sharing how this newsletter has improvised the life of our students, I also want to tell you how it has improvised our lives. When we are associated with newsletter, we are working directly under Dr. Amrish Saxena, and he himself has years and years of experience into writing. So it is always a learning to be sitting in front of him and to learn under him. He is most of the time able to identify errors, rectify our mistakes, and that's how even we as teachers are learning all the time, and we are also keeping in trend with industry standards. Our writings are at par with industry writings, that I must emphasize here. And that's how. Obviously, it is giving us exposure also, because our newsletter is being circulated to these many number of people, 2,000 people, and apart from that, we have internal groups and other things also. So we are getting exposure. This is also adding on to our curriculum vitae. And now, how it is enhancing the life of our students. There are, in numerous ways, I would say. Why? Because students are, they have become more confident about their writings. They have learned writing. Many of them have learned the art of writing from scratch. I have recently received a letter of appreciation for one of my students, Vinayak Yadav, and his writing was absolutely, wonderful, and there was not even a single mistake in that report, and which was, a very good achievement for my student. And initially, when he was writing, his writings were not of that much standard. So it is not an easy task to teach somebody this art of writing. Why? Because you have to spend a lot of time and energy to it. and you have to check all the lines. You have to tell them the importance of correct spellings, especially in case of names. You have to tell them the importance of correct facts and figures, sentence construction. So sometimes we receive copies which are not even coherent, which are not clear to us at all. So we have to also talk to our students and understand what they are trying to say. So these challenges are very prominent at presently, but steadily our students are learning this art of writing, and I believe that once you teach them this art of writing, this is always helpful, because when students can write effectively and they can speak effectively, and because writing enhances thinking also, so they can think effectively. So I think writing, speaking and thinking makes a student a brilliant one. So now I have some video recordings of my students. I'm hoping that they will play now. Sorry, I'll be playing my video later on. I have focused on how this newsletter is enriching our lives, but now I have one suggestion for our newsletter. Um, I want to include a column which asks our readers to take some action, which can be called to action column. That can be a quiz or maybe some kind of content which motivates them to contribute something, so that we are able to assess what kind of readers are we getting, and what kind of participation, what kind of interest is being generated through our newsletter publication. Also, there is a small request or maybe a suggestion for Madhav sir. Uh, the subject line that comes from a newsletter is DME Media School Buzz. What immediately follows after the subject line is also, I think, is of prominence. So sometimes in the subject line we get the text which is auto printed through the MailChimp. So I want to know whether we can improvise or work on this, because that is also visible on the subject line. So I really want to work on this. One second, I'll just show you the image. Right, if you would see, it's written DME Media School Campus Bus, and view this email. Right. So can we work on this, like rather than this second part, can we write some line which is visible, because this is auto generated text. Yeah, this is the auto generated text, and as far as I understand, this is taken automatically by Gmail, and they take the first line. They take the first line of our mail, So I think if we write something even before our newsletter begins, I think this can be worked up. Thank you so much, sir.